want to start this show by welcoming you to the first ever, definitely not last time ever. You're either good, great, or just plain awful. I'm going to be the host of this show. For the near future, I think I'm just going to be running with myself here. My name is Danny Herring, and we're here to discuss things going on around the awful league. I debated a while about what I would do as my very first topic. You know, you want to set the tone for your show. And when you're looking around the league and everything transpiring now, you're looking around the media and everything that's being reported, the one constant thing right now is it's almost impossible. You can't turn to any sports-related channel right now. You can't listen to any sports podcast right now without coming along and finding every article you could possibly imagine about kneeling. Now, I'm not talking about the end of the game, game over, victory formation, quarterback kneeling the ball. I'm talking about players, musicians performing the national anthem, kneeling before, during, and sometimes even after the national anthem before the game begins. Now, this is a very touchy subject. People all across America have differing opinions on this subject, whether it's that the players should never do it and they're against it, or they support the players and they believe that what the players are doing is the right move. Now, around the league, we've seen teams such as the Atlanta Falcons, where their owner, Arthur Blank, and head coach, David Coleman, united arms with their players during the anthem, and they even had a couple players, Grady Jarrett and Dontari Poe, take a knee. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, we had the Tennessee Titans head coach put out a memo saying anyone, and I mean anyone caught taking a knee during the anthem would immediately be released from the team. Now let that sink in for a minute. They're saying anyone that wants to peacefully protest before the game of football has even begun will be released by the team. Now, I don't believe with any part of my being that if Marcus Mariota took a knee during the national anthem that the Tennessee Titans ownership or head coach would release them from the team. Now, to the credit of the Tennessee Titans organization, no player, well, I don't even know if you could even say to the credit of the organization, but no players did, in fact, take a knee during their previous game. I've heard rumors circulating that there are Titans players upset with the way the management of the Titans have handled this situation. I mean, how can you not be? Personally, I try not to combine politics and football too much, but nowadays politics is blending in with everything you do. Everywhere you look, Donald Trump this, Hillary Clinton that. Racial injustice happening all across America. This is a time where we're setting a precedent with almost everything that occurs, and these players taking a knee isn't something that's just going to stop overnight. And I hate to tell this to the Titans, but if you release Marcus Mariota, or if you release DeMarco Murray or Derrick Henry or any player that does want to take a knee, have no doubt that 31 other teams will pick up the phone and give that player a call right away. Now, one thing I do want to transition here to a more actual football-related topic here is looking around the league. The one thing that stands out possibly more than anything when you're looking at these statistics after these games, we're currently in the middle of week 7 as I'm talking, is defensive line dominance. Now, some might say, well, hey Danny, let's touch on passing real quick. And I say, hold up 1 minute, son. Because defensive line dominance plays in to the fact that people are struggling to pass. Let's think a minute to last year when Vic Beasley led the NFL in sacks. I don't have the stat pulled up in front of me right now, but I think he had around 15 and a half sacks to lead the league after a 16 game span. We are in halfway through week 7, and we already have a player that has 15 sacks on the year. And we're not even halfway through the year yet. Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs is sitting pretty with 15 sacks. Then you look at guys underneath him. Khalil Mack, 14. Aaron Donald, 14. Vic Beasley is down there with 12. And then you've got a player I'm not 100% familiar with from Baltimore called Matthew Judon. I'm sure I'm saying that a little incorrectly. But a 25-year-old outside linebacker down in Baltimore in the top 5 in sacks. Never heard of him before. Now, is this a testament to how great the defensive line talent is? Or I should say pass rushing talent, because it's happening from the 3-4 outside linebacker position. It's happening from the 3-4 defensive end positions, which are more normally known as run stoppers. It's happening in the 4-3 defensive end positions, and it's also happening in the 4-3 defensive tackle positions. So pretty much right now, every defensive lineman has been effective at rushing the passer for the most part. Now, is that a product of the pass rushing techniques getting that good as these kids are coming from college? A lot of those guys that I just named are young kids at 25 and younger. So they haven't been professionals very long. Or is that a product of the lack of quality offensive line talent around the league? We've seen a lot of trades happen since this league started up. But the one thing we haven't seen is quality offensive linemen move. I believe Donald Penn was traded from the Oakland Raiders to the Chiefs. But Donald Penn is on the downswing. He's an older tackle. If you look at the young guys that have been drafted recently at the tackle position, you think of Jake Matthews, you think of Luke Jokiel, Eric Fisher. None of those guys have developed into elite offensive linemen. Most of the elite offensive linemen around the league are still older veterans. Then you think about the team like the Dallas Cowboys, supposed to be having the best offensive line in the league. But yet they've had struggles as well. Whether it be getting sacked, I think Dak Prescott's been sacked 15 times this year already. Or even in the run game. They've struggled some in the run game as well. And they're one of the better running teams out there. So right now, do you attribute it to a lack of offensive line talent around the league? Mind you, the Cowboys do have one of the better rushing attacks overall. But they have had struggles. And they're the best offensive line talent-wise in the league. So do you attribute that more to lack of offensive line talent? Or do you say, hey, these pass rushers, these defensive linemen coming up through college are legit? We've got to start teaching these kids on the offensive line how to defend these things more appropriately. And at the pace we're going right now, we're going to not only smash the sack record this year, but we're going to have multiple people do it. Our top 10 pass rushers around the league might break the sack record the way we're going right now. Now I want to transition away from all this positional talk, and I want to focus on a team for a second. A team that has dramatically disappointed expectations. A team that many are wondering if they have what it takes to bounce back. And that team is none other than the Green Bay Packers. You're talking about the quarterback that was supposed to lead the NFL once Tom Brady and Peyton Manning retired. Well, Manning's gone, and Brady is arguably on his last leg. But Aaron Rodgers this year hasn't been enough to overcome the struggles of the Green Bay Packers. Rodgers currently sits at a touchdown to interception ratio that has him at 7 touchdowns and 16 picks on the year. With no doubt this is Aaron Rodgers' worst year of his professional career. The Packers overall have struggled offensively and defensively, falling in the lower half of the league in both categories. Now, we all know the story from the past. You ask Aaron Rodgers, you say, Aaron, what's going on? And the infamous relax. This is a man that has been down before and has brought his team back. Now, my question to you is this still the same Aaron Rodgers? With the coach they have at the helm, can Aaron Rodgers once again right a ship that is already sinking? Now, if he is going to do that, he's going to have to start winning games. And I think the next portion of his schedule might be the best chance. His next two, he's going to 2-3 New Orleans. He has his bye week, and then goes to 2-4 Lions. Now, the Aaron Rodgers we know would pull out wins in both of those games. If you're Green Bay, that puts you at 4-4 going into a big divisional matchup against Chicago, who's performed better than anyone expected them to do. Later on in the year, you also have Pittsburgh, who was a very strong 6-1 team. But other than that, if you're looking at this schedule, you see a lot of winnable games still left on it. So the chance is definitely there. Personally, I think this will be the year Green Bay fails to make the playoffs. Not only that, I believe by the end of the year, the Green Bay Packers will have a losing record. Now, I briefly touched on the Pittsburgh Steelers there for a second. 6-1, class of the AFC. Except there's one more team sitting at 6-1 in the AFC. That team is the Oakland Raiders. One of these two teams, my prediction here right now, will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. One of these teams is really ahead of the class AFC team, and the other one is a pretender. As of right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers this week suffered their first loss of the year. They only managed to put up 6 points against the Bengals. The Oakland Raiders have had a tremendous year as well. Their one defeat, their one loss on the year, was an absolute thrashing against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if you wanted me to tell you which team is going to be that team, which team is the class of the AFC, and which one's a pretender, as of this moment, I'm going to say the AFC champions for this season is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So much offensive talent there. So much young defensive talent there. When you think about the Oakland Raiders, you think about the talent they have, which is there. It's arguable it's there. But I just think head coaching-wise, I don't believe the Oakland Raiders are a 6-1 team. I think when they beat Denver, they had a few lucky things fall their way. I think the Denver Broncos overall, we're talking about talent here, just talent. I think the Denver Broncos is the better team. This has become a defensive league. It's not an offensive league. The defense for the Denver Broncos is hands down, just flat out better than the defense of the Oakland Raiders. Now, if this was an offensive, like if there was a bigger balance of what's winning games right now between offense and defense, you can make the case to me that Oakland is the better team. But right now, I'm seeing defense win these games almost night in, night out. I can even make an argument right now that special teams actually is a bigger factor than even offense. Do I think the Oakland Raiders are a playoff caliber team? Yeah, sure. But I don't believe they are a top 2 team in the AFC. Now, since we're talking about the head of the class, since we're talking about who's running the show, so to say, in the AFC, let's be fair, and let's transition over to the NFC. Now, in the preseason, a lot of very big predictors out there said there were 2 teams. It was a 2-team race in the NFC between the reigning NFC champions, the Atlanta Falcons, and America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Both those teams picked for obvious reasons. You had some people come out and say Green Bay just because of Aaron Rodgers, but we've already seen that kind of fall apart so far. And the results so far through week 7 have said those are 2 good teams. Those are going to be more than likely 2 playoff caliber teams. But the class of the NFC has been the Arizona Cardinals, which is a surprise to a lot of people because the Cardinals do have young talent. You're talking about Patrick Peterson. You're talking about the Honey Badger. You're talking about David Johnson. But they have a lot of age over there as well. Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald. You're talking about guys with talent, but guys that are losing physical ability because they're getting older. A lot of people thought that Arizona was a fringe playoff team. Nobody thought Arizona would perform the way they have and be a quality top 1 seed NFC playoff team. And I'll attribute that to a few things. I think that the Darrelle Revis signing in preseason was a huge pickup. I think Revis still definitely has some in the tank. I think he's still a capable corner in the league. And a lot of people thought the Cardinals actually had a good set group of corners there, but behind Patrick Peterson, you're not really looking at much. You know, Deion Buchanan at middle linebacker has been absolutely amazing so far. You can't ask for much more than he's given you. I mean, we're seeing nowadays where these speed middle linebackers, these speed linebackers in general, actually, it's not even just the middle ones, is becoming more and more of a thing. Run and hit, run and hit. That's what they do. They run and they hit. And when you have that speed, you can cover more parts of the field than the old Ray Lewis style linebacker, run stuffing linebacker. And Deion Buchanan so far has been everything you could ask for. Right now, the Arizona Cardinals are the favorite. They're my pick to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think we're looking at a Cardinals versus Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl. The Cardinals have a top 5 defense. They have a top 10 offense. They did suffer a defeat to the Cowboys earlier in the year. So, you know, that does sting a little because they'll see the Cowboys again more than likely in the playoffs. But it was a close game. And the Cowboys aren't who we thought they were. That's just a fact. People thought the Cowboys were going to be a 15-1 team. They thought they were going to be a 14-2 team and dominate the league. And I hate to break the news to you, but they're not. The Cowboys are who I thought they were. They might get 11 wins. They might even exceed expectations and get 12 wins, which is a great year. That's great. They'll probably get a first-round bye. Not every team can do that. But come playoff time, as is Cowboy tradition, they don't have the clutch trait. They don't have the gene in them that allows them to perform in the postseason. And that is why the Cowboys will never, in my lifetime, be the class of the NFC. Now we're going to begin to wrap up the show here. Do keep in mind this is my first time doing this. When I've done these kind of shows before, I had a partner kind of makes it easier. It takes pressure off of yourself. You're not the only one talking. I think I've been talking here for about 20 minutes straight. So, excuse any brief lapses in the podcast here. I was pulling up data and looking through some stuff, getting statistics for you guys while talking. In the future, I'll be a little more prepared. I did kind of rush this one. I just got the stuff in to set up this podcast yesterday, and I won't have any free time in the coming days, so I wanted to get something out for you, give you guys a glimpse of what possibly will be coming in the future. I will say this won't be an every week thing. I'm not going to be able to record this every week, so don't expect it regularly. But when I do it, I'm going to put in more work than I did this time, and I'm going to come a little bit better prepared. In closing, thank you guys for listening. Hit me up in the DMs with anything you think I can improve on or anything you want me to talk about on the next show. And as always, just remember, I'm Danny Herring, I'm your host. And in this world, not even in the league, but in this world and in your life, you have 3 options. Only 3. It can either be good, it can be great, or you can be plain awful.